So first we have Mack Lessig and Mindy Hanak presenting Community Gardens, Sowing the Seeds of Sustainability. Mack Lessig is the Community Gardens Program Assistant for Manatee County. Woohoo, Manatee County. Mindy Hanak, she says Hanak, she's letting me go with it. Coordinates the Community and School Gardens Program at IFAS Extension Sarasota County, supporting 7 community gardens and dozens of school programs. So come on up, folks. Let's give them a round of applause, people. Come on. It's not easy getting up there.
All right. Good afternoon, y'all. Can y'all hear me okay?
You gotta own it. You gotta really get on it.
Hello.
There we go.
All right. So I'll try again. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right. Good afternoon. My name is Mack Lessig, and I work for the Manatee County Extension Office. And this is my team member, Mindy Hanak, from Sarasota County Extension Office. And we are the community garden coordinators and school coordinators for our respective counties. And we're here to talk to you today about sowing seeds of sustainability. All right, so our programs have 3 main functions. The first being promoting community resilience, the second being education through agriculture and nutrition, and then our final objective is promoting food security in our communities as well. To do that, we have organized 20 plus community gardens in Sarasota and Manatee counties. We are involved with over 400 community gardeners, and we operate in 70 schools. So we have a pretty big impact, and we deal with lots of different people. An example of some of our efforts would be our East Bradenton Fruit Orchard in Manatee County and the Colonial Oaks Orchard in Sarasota counties. Those are both on park lands, and those are donated to the communities to increase their access to nutritious food. In Manatee County, we also have a partnership with our Department of Health and promoting wellness and food nutrition education through a community garden there. Typically, our community gardens and school gardens are located in low-income or what we would term food desert communities, and that's really where our priorities are. So I'm going to have Mindy talk a little bit about our home and food resources.
So one of the reasons we have our focus in some of those communities when it comes to offering community and school gardens is that in Sarasota County, 42% of households are paying more than 30% of their monthly income on housing costs. So this means that they're cost burdened. And among low-income families, there are over 53,000 households that are cost burdened locally. And so naturally, it kind of stands to reason that the more that you're spending on your housing, the less you have to spend on your food. And so community and school gardens offer opportunity for education and for access to growing nutritious and fresh fruits and vegetables. So one of the things that I really like about the community gardens is that it provides some growing space for people and an opportunity for people to mix together that they might not meet otherwise. They have a shared interest in growing their own fruits and vegetables. And it might be someone that, as we've seen with some development, there's increased deed-restricted communities where you're prohibited from growing edibles in your yard. And then there's also folks that are, they're in an apartment and they may not have access to a yard. And so both those folks may end up in the same community garden with that same shared interest and access to things like fencing, compost, shared tools, things of that nature, so they can enjoy the space and grow some nutritious foods, and that's a little friendlier on the budget.
Nice. So with that said, why don't you tell us a little more about the benefits associated with community gardens, Mindy?
So one of the reasons we're really happy to provide community and school gardens is there's a lot of benefits to gardening. And so gardeners report decreased depression, anxiety symptoms, mood disturbance, stress, and BMI. And then gardeners report increased quality of life, cognitive function, physical activity levels, and sense of community. So it really touches on a lot of different things by participating in this one activity, and they get to enjoy the fruits of their labor as well.
Wonderful. Now, I would like to elaborate a little more on one of our major health problems, and that's childhood obesity. So this graphic kind of demonstrates a couple of the major contributors to that, being genetics and metabolism. short sleep duration, community and neighborhood design and safety, and eating and physical activity behaviors. And that last point is really where our programs focus on the most. Our school garden program, like I said earlier, is primarily targeted for our Title I schools, and Title I means that over half of the population of that school is eligible for free or reduced lunch. So those children are typically low income and from families that don't have access to nutritious food. So our job is to really promote those things within their school environment. We do that through education, with agriculture and nutrition. So with our ag education, we focus on plant biology, pest and beneficial insect identification, kind of sciencey things. And then the nutrition element comes through our taste tests, the physical growing of the vegetables, and them having harvest parties. I know it sounds kind of silly, but they really appreciate kind of sharing their fruits. We really employ the hands-on and experiential learning aspects too. We really want the kids to participate in this garden. If they can sow the seeds themselves and plant the rows and take ownership of the garden, they tend to participate more and they get more benefit from it. And they get to see how those seeds turn into vegetables. So how many times have you guys been asked where the vegetables come from, or kids are really unfamiliar with where a carrot's grown, or where a mango comes from, or grapes do not grow on trees. So we want to show them that this little tiny seed, when you plant, turns into a carrot, and this is the time that you have to wait. So there's a care period, so they take a lot of ownership over that. With that said, we strive to promote self-esteem with our students as well. So like I said earlier, these Title I kids are primarily low income, and typically they come from troubled backgrounds. So we strive to empower them through self-esteem and confidence building activities, but we also emphasize teamwork as well, which is really crucial in this day and age to get anything done. So I'll have Mindy tell a little bit more about that.
I like how you're talking about with the self-esteem. I know that one of our master gardeners, when we were out working with the students, and he was being very supportive with the words he was using to support their interest in the plants, and his point was that the person is more important than the plant in that scenario, because you don't want them to be intimidated, feeling like they can't touch and engage with what you're doing. And for some of the students, it's the first time they're touching soil. They might be in 3rd grade, and it's the first time that they're actually touching soil. And so not only are we educating as far as like with the agricultural components and the nutritional components, and one of the reasons it's important is because in Florida, agriculture has a huge economic impact. And if we want to be able to eat locally, it's important that we inspire some of the youth to consider an agricultural-minded career, and they might not be exposed at home to something like that. And so it's especially important in that Florida has the average age of their farmer is now at 57. And so it's important that we're inspiring the youth to consider, going into some of those fields. It is $120 billion in annual economic impact, and it supports more than 2 million jobs. So it's one of the strongest pillars in Florida's economy, and so it's important that we open that opportunity to those students so that way they can consider that as a future career path, because 21 million people are employed in those non-traditional agricultural careers, and a lot of them require higher education. And so it's a really good opportunity for them, not only to get familiar with some of that vocabulary, but to determine if they have an interest in pursuing something like that, and even just to promote it's easier for them to answer questions on standardized tests and things of that nature if there's something that relates to a plant, they've seen a plant, they've worked with a plant, and they can understand the question.
Great. So our programs have come up with 2 different solutions. They're similar, but they are slightly different in how we're going to attack our 3 main goals, which are community resilience, education, and food security. So Mindy, why don't you tell us about Sarasota County's efforts?
So we do have a lot of gardens, both community and school gardens, probably very close to you in your neighborhoods. If you don't want to go in and pursue growing in that way, but you'd like to get your feet wet and try growing an edible in Florida, and a lot of people tend to start with a tomato plant, which isn't really the best plant for them to start with. We do pick a crop once a year, and red Russian kale is the crop. In a few weeks, you'll be able to find the seeds at your library. You'll be able to link to a recipe and growing instructions, and we provide that seed and flyer to you, or you can pick pick them up at the Extension as well. And you can take classes that are offered by the Extension, usually free of charge as well.
And in Manatee County, we have a similar program called the Manatee Seed Bank. So this is a partnership between the public and our county extension office, and we're focused on providing access to producing and growing high-quality, regionally adapted fruits, vegetables, grains, and native wildflowers. So just having those seeds available to our communities provides them a great sense of community resilience, because now they can take ownership of these seeds and these varieties and improve them for their areas and our changing climate. And it also promotes that sustainability aspect, that they don't have to rely on someone else to feed them. As they gain knowledge through use of extension, they can better themselves. So to do this, we have an extensive network of partners. So this is just a small list of people we work with at Extension. But given the nature of our job, we are gardeners and we rely on communities. And so you guys are our community. And through you, we receive donations and volunteerism. And your word of mouth really goes a long way in spreading the impacts of our program. So we want to thank you for having us today. Again, my name is Mack Lessig with Manatee County Extension, and this is Mindy Hanak from Sarasota County Extension, and we are your community gardeners. Thank you.
Mack and Mindy, great job.